Okay, good afternoon to all of you. So in the previous session, we discussed that a strain gauge, which is also known as a piezoresistive gauge. Okay, so very important thing related to the strain gauge is the strain gauge is a passive resistive type of a transducer. Why it is called as a passive? Uh, because that external energy source is required. And why it is called as a resistive? Because applied force pressure will change the resistance. And another thing is that it is also that electrical type of a transducer, because output of a strain gauge, it's an electrical signal. And what are the applications of the strain gauge? The strain gauge, it can be used for the measurement of force, pressure, weight, small displacement, strain, stress, acceleration. So these are the application. So what is the basic principle? The basic principle is very simple. If you try to read that the basic principle, if the metallic wire is stretched or compressed, it's a dimension change. Dimension change means it's a length and diameter, means area of cross section, it will be changed based on that application of a force. And in turn, it's a resistance, it's going to be changed. And that effect is known as a piezo resistive effect. Okay. So very important formula for the strain gauge, which is nothing but the gauge factor, which will be asked for MCQ type of a question. And this gauge factor, it can be calculated by change in resistance to original resistance divided by change in length to the original length is there. With this formula is there. Okay. So there are actually three types of strain gauges are there: metal wire, metal foil, and semiconductor. But out of that, for your syllabus, the metal wire strain gauge is there. In that, unbonded metal wire strain gauge and the bonded wire strain gauge. And the construction of these unbonded and the bonded, it is different, but it's a working principle, and that applications are remain same. Is it right? So this is the unbonded metal wire strain gauge. This is bonded wire strain gauge, as I already discussed that. Very important thing is that when you want to measure the weight, pressure, force by using the strain gauge, then it is mandatory thing is that you need to connect that the Wheatstone's meter bridge, and in that Wheatstone meter bridge, one of the arm of a Wheatstone meter bridge is an active type of a strain gauge, and another one same type of a strain gauge, it is used just to balance the bridge, that is called as a dummy strain gauge. Initially, we have to make that bridge is in balanced condition. It means that output becomes zero. But when the force is applied on the strain gauge, definitely certain output voltage is developed, and this output voltage from the Wheatstone meter bridge is directly proportional to the force applied on the strain gauge is that. This is the basic thing is that. And now today we are going to discuss that one more type of a strain gauge, and that is called as a load cell. Now see that in previous session in detail we discussed that strain gauge, which is nothing but we call it's a passive, resistive, electrical transducer. Is it right? Now, why it is called as a passive? Because it is always connected in a Wheatstone meter bridge, and Wheatstone meter bridge is always connected to that external supply, means external supply is required. External energy source is required for the strain gauge. That's why it is called as a passive. Why it is called as a resistive? Because applied force will change the resistance of the wire used in the strain gauge is there. That's why it is called as a resistive. Why it is called as a electrical? Because it's an output form of energy. Output form of energy is electrical signal. That's why it is called as a electrical. So this is the basic summarized points about the strain gauge is there. And now, as we know that this strain gauge, it can be used for the measurement of a weight. Is it right? And It has its three types: metal wire, metal foil, and the semiconductor. And now, today we are going to discuss about that the load cell. This is nothing but the application of a strain gauge is there. Application of strain gauge is there. And this load cell, it is designed to measure extremely heavy load. To measure extremely heavy load. It means that आता जसं की मी सांगितलं की स्ट्रेन गेज हे वेट मशीन मध्ये यूज केला गेलेला ट्रान्सड्युसर आहे. मग तो किराणा मालाच्या दुकानामधलं वेट मशीन असेल, ह्युमन वेट मशीन असेल किंवा सोन्या चांदीच्या दुकानामध्ये वेट मशीन असेल. द स्ट्रेन गेज टाइप ऑफ अ ट्रान्सड्युसर इट इज यूज्ड इन दॅट वेट मशीन इज दॅट. पण जर आपल्याला एक्स्ट्रीमली हेवी लोड मेजर करायचं असेल, that time the strain gauge is not sufficient. Their operating range is not sufficient. For example, आपल्याला उसाच्या ट्रॅक्टरचं किंवा ट्रकचं वेट मेजर करायचंय. That load is extremely high. Is it right? Otherwise, we say that heavy machineचं weight आपल्याला measure करायचंय. That load is extremely high. And for such purpose, when we want to measure that extremely heavy load, that time one more type of a strain gauge is designed, and that is called as the load cell is there. All of you, please see the basic construction. The very first sentence is very important. As the strain gauge, I say that it is the application of a load cell is the application of a strain gauge. That's why the load cell is also passive and resistive type of a transducer here. And the load cell is the application of, now you can try to read it, bonded metal wire strain gauge is there. And this load cell, which is extremely used or which will be used for to weight extremely heavy load is there. This is that application. For one special purpose, that load cell is designed. Okay. And now see that the basic construction of this load cell here. So this is the front side cutting view. It's a constructional view of this load cell is there. If you see that on the top of this load cell, this one diaphragm is provided on which actually the load can be applied, on which actually the force pressure can be applied. And this is nothing but the steel bar. This entire thing is nothing but what? Inside that the outer structure, the steel bar is present, which is called as an active element. This steel bar is called as a what? It's a active element. Why I say that active element? Because and in this portion, when the load is applied, so this load will be experienced by this steel bar is there. And on that steel bar, the total 4 bonded wire strain gauges are connected. Now you can see that here you can observe that this is the first bonded wire strain gauge. This is the second bonded wire strain gauge, and exactly opposite of that 1 and 2 bonded wire strain gauge, the third and fourth strain gauge is there. You can try to imagine the diagram. It means that total 4 bonded wire strain gauges are used. Out of that, the 2 bonded wire strain gauges are connected vertically and 2 bonded wire strain gauge are connected horizontally. If you observe very carefully, you can notice that the one thing here, the number 1 bonded wire strain gauge is connected vertically, A type of a strain gauge. You can see that it's vertically connected on that steel bar is there. But if you see that the number 2 type of a strain gauge, we say that it's a strain gauge B is connected horizontally on that steel bar is there. So like that, 1 number and the 3 number are connected vertically, and the 2 number and 4 number are connected horizontally. And all these 4 type of strain gauges are the part of a Wheatstone meter bridge, and they are connected to each other in a Wheatstone meter bridge is there. And as you know that the bridge is always connected to that external supply. That's why it is called as a passive type. And as you know that when the force is applied on this shaded portion, the force or weight extremely heavy load, it will be experienced by the steel bar, and automatically the force will experienced by these 4 strain gauges which is mounted on that steel bar is there. And when the force it will be experienced by this bonded wire strain gauge, as it is the arm of a Wheatstone meter bridge, initially the bridge is balanced, that time output it becomes 0. But when the force is or heavy load is applied on that shaded portion, definitely the resistance of all these 4 bonded wire strain gauge, it is going to be changed. And as the resistance it will be changed of this Wheatstone meter bridge, output voltage is certain value of output voltage is generated, and this output voltage is directly proportional to the applied force or load on that diaphragm is there. So that's why we say that the load cell is an example of a strain gauge. कारण याच्यामध्ये जर बेसिक पार्ट जर तुम्ही विचारात घेतला तर लोड सेल बनवताना 4 बॉन्डेड वायर स्ट्रेन गेज यूज केलेले आहेत. And the little bit different construction, just this construction is just for the measurement of a heavy load is there, nothing greater than that. म्हणजे जर व्यवस्थित बघितलं तर तुम्हाला हे लक्षात येईल की लोड सेल is nothing but a strain gauge is there. But the difference is that in the load cell, the 4 bonded wire strain gauges are used and they are mounted on the steel bar, and it can be specially designed to measure the extremely heavy load is there. So this is about the load cell is there. So what you can summarize at the point here, the number 1, the load cell is application of a bonded metal wire strain gauge. This is the first summarized point. Number 2, the load cell is passive resistive electrical transducer. Why it is called as a passive? Because that external energy source is required. Why it is called as a resistive? Because it is the application of a strain gauge. Why it is called as electrical? Because we get that output voltage as a electrical voltage is there. That's why this is the number 2 thing is there. And number 3, what is the special purpose of this load cell is there? So the load cell is specially designed to measure that extremely heavy load is there. मग आता जे तुम्ही उसाचे ट्रॅक्टर्स ट्रक्स मेजर करण्यासाठी जो जे काही वेट मशीन्स जे अवेलेबल असतात बघा ते जर बघितले, सो इन दॅट definitely the load cells are used because the load is very heavy is there. Is it that clear? Okay, now let's we move forward and we will try to see that the next type of transducer, which is nothing but the thermocouple is there. But once again, let me try to summarize the point here, what we discussed in the previous things. Number 1, we discussed that LVDT. This is passive, inductive, and electrical transducer, which is measured for the measurement of a displacement. Is it right? Number 2, we discussed that reluctance pulse pickup. Is it right? That is also passive, inductive, and electrical type of a transducer. And that is also used for the measurement of a displacement here. Okay. Number 3, we discussed that strain gauge. This strain gauge is also passive, resistive, electrical transducer, and it can be used for the measurement of force, weight, pressure, etc. And number 4, we discussed that load cell, that is the application of Strain gauge, it means that it is the passive resistive electrical type of transducers, and it can be also used for to measure extremely heavy load is there. And now this is the fifth one type of a transducer. We call it a thermocouple. The thermocouple, the name itself gives that it is used for the measurement of a temperature. This is a temperature sensor is there. Get it my point? Now, what is the basic idea behind this thermocouple and how it actually works? Please try to see these things here. Actually, the thermocouple is a temperature transducer and it is active type of a transducers are there. आता पहिल्यांदाच तुम्हाला active transducer येतोय बघा. Active transducer. And why I say that active transducer? Because it will measure the temperature. It means that input to the thermocouple is a temperature, change in a temperature, and output of the thermocouple is an electrical signal. And for conversion of a temperature in an equivalent of electrical voltage, the thermocouple does not require that external energy source. That's why the thermocouple is an active type of a transducer is there. This is a MCQ type of a, it's very important for MCQ type of question is that. Out of these for you, now you can observe that the thermocouple is only one, the active type of a transducers are there. And now you can see that what is that input parameter for the thermocouple? It's a temperature, and that output parameter of the thermocouple is the electrical voltage. Now, what is that basic things? So the basic thing is that, see that if you consider the two different material wires, I say that the first important component is nothing but two different wires. When they are joined together to form the two junctions, means suppose I say that this is the first wire, wire 1, and this is, I say that the second wire, I say that wire 2. When the two different material wires, material same nahi manat mi ita, when the two different material wires, when they are joined together to form the junction. Now here I say that this is a junction J1 and this is a junction J2. When these two junctions are kept at a two different temperature, when these two junctions are kept at a two different temperature, suppose I say that the junction J1 temperature is a T1 and junction J2 temperature is a T2, and now as we want that these two junctions are kept at a two different temperature, now I assume that T1 is greater than a T2. Means the temperature of a junction J1 is greater than the temperature of a junction T2, so that the junction J1 is called as hot junction and junction J2 is called as cold junction. Then it is observed that electrons from these two different materials can move from hot junction to the cold junction, and as the electrons will move from both the material wire, so when you try to measure the voltage, then definitely the certain value of EMF voltage is observed when these two junctions are kept at a two different temperature. And now if you observe that here the developed voltage in between these 2 points is directly proportional to the difference between the temperature of both the junctions is there. In this way, the temperature parameter, it can be measured in the form of a voltage. माता बेसिक क्राइटेरिया कौन कौन आहेत बघा. पहिला बेसिक क्राइटेरिया कोणता आहे की टू डिफरंट मटेरियल वायर्स दे आर जॉइंड टुगेदर. दुसरा क्राइटेरिया the two junctions must be formed. I say that junction J1 and junction J2. Tisra criteria, the temperature of both the junctions should be different. I say that T1 and T2. And the fourth one thing is that when the temperature difference is exist, so EMF is induced in both the wire is there. So that EMF is available. I say that. So this is the basic idea behind the thermocouple is there. Now you can try to read that the slides. And this effect, this thermocouple effect is found by that the number of scientists, and that effect is known as a Seebeck effect, Peltier effect. Actually, these are the name of the scientist, and the Thomson effect is there. Now you can try to read that what is the working principle of active temperature thermocouple here. So this thing will be asked for MCQ. This is the active and the temperature transducers are there. Now try to read that. What is the Seebeck effect? The Seebeck effect states that when two different or unlike metal are joined together at two junctions, an electromotive force is generated, EMF is generated at the two junctions, the amount of EMF generated is different for different combination of a metal. म्हणजे या ठिकाणी सीबेक इफेक्ट ना फक्त एकच क्रायटेरिया सांगितलाय की टू डिफरंट materials when they are joined together to form the two junctions, then the electromotive force is generated and at the two junctions are there. हे दिलेलं स्टेटमेंट आहे सीबेक इफेक्टचं. आता पेल्टायर इफेक्टचं बघा. when two dissimilar metals, पुन्हा तेच आहे, are joined together to form two junctions, EMF is generated within the circuit due to difference in temperature of the two junctions. आता या सीबेक इफेक्ट न फक्त दोन डिफरंट मटेरियल यूज करा म्हणून सांगितलंय. पेल्टायर इफेक्ट न काय सांगितलेलं आहे, the EMF is generated within the circuit due to different temperature at the two junctions. बरोबर आहे. And now you can try to read that the third effect, we call it a Thomson effect. When two unlike metal, पुन्हा तीच criteria, are joined together forming two junctions, the potential exists within the circuit due to temperature gradient along the entire length of the conductors within that circuit is there. So these are the Thomson effects are there. And the thermocouple, it is totally based on all these three types of effects are there. So you please try to remember that the name of these effects, Seebeck effect, Peltier effect, and the Thomson effect is there. And now see that if you see that here this A represents a wire of a first material, this B represents another wire of a different material, and they are joined together so that two junctions are formed. The P represents junction J1, Q represents junction J2, and as per the requirement, the temperature of both the junctions must be different. So I say that the temperature of a junction J1 is a T1 and the temperature of the junction J2 is a T2. Now if you observe that junction J1 is heated with a kind of a source, that's why it is called as a hot junction, measuring junction. And the junction J2, we call it a reference junction, we call it a cold junction. And which types of materials are used? As you know that for the construction of a thermocouple, the two different metal wires are used. So out of these nickel, aluminum, copper, chromel, iron, consonant, etc. There are so many metals are there. So out of this, any two material you can use it and you can prepare the thermocouple. Then it is observed that when these two junctions are kept at two different temperature, if you try to connect that the voltmeter, the voltage is induced along the length of that conductor here. And the generated voltage is always directly proportional to the change in a temperature as compared to both the junctions is there. So now you can observe here in this process, no external energy source is required. In this process, no external source is required. That's why this is called as active temperature type of a transducer is there. Is that point is clear? Okay, and now have a look on that one video. Let me try to show that the video so that your idea about the thermocouple will be clear.
This video presentation is represented by electrical4u.com, an online electrical engineering study site. Today's topic is laws of thermocouples. Let us take two dissimilar metals M1 and M2. One strip of metal M1 is shaped as you see here. Two smaller strips of metal M2 which are shaped as you see here. Now connect these three strips in the way as shown here. There are two bimetallic junctions formed. One is this one, and another is this one. Now this junction is heated by this candle flame. And this junction is immersed in this ice water. Now we will connect one sensitive multimeter, as shown here. You see, this meter is giving some reading. This is nothing but the voltage between these hot and cold junctions. Now if we increase the temperature of the hot junction, by increasing the intensity of the flame, we will see the reading of the multimeter also increases. This proves that the voltage between these two junctions is the function of temperature difference between them. A German physicist named Thomas Johann Seebeck has discovered this effect. His discovery is called the Seebeck effect, and it is the basis of all thermocouples. We have three different laws of thermoelectric circuits. These laws are known as law of homogeneous circuit, law of intermediate metals and law of intermediate temperatures. The first law, homogeneous circuit, states that in a circuit composed of a single homogeneous metal, cannot generate an electric potential by the application of even sufficient temperature difference between two different points of the circuit. Here the temperature of this hot junction is T1 and temperature of cold junction is T2. There is a temperature difference between these two junctions, and that is T1 minus T2, but still the multimeter gives zero reading, as the junctions are made of same metals. The second law is also known as thermocouple law of intermediate metals, states that the net EMF in a circuit consisting of interconnections of a number of unlike metals, maintained at the same temperature, is zero. That means, if other metal conductors are inserted in the thermocouple circuit and the junctions of these interconnected metal conductors are in same temperature, then output EMF will not be affected and remains same as if it was made of only two metals. Then come to this circuit. Here T1 and T2 is the temperature of hot and cold junction respectively. Now take the reading of the multimeter. Here this third metal is inserted here in the circuit. This creates new two junctions in the circuit. If T3 is the temperature of both new junctions and T1 and T2 is the temperature of hot and cold junction respectively. Now again take the reading of the multimeter. In these two cases you will see the multimeter reading is same, which proves the statement thermocouple law of intermediate metals. The third law, successive or intermediate temperatures, where EMF E1 is generated when two dissimilar metals have junctions at temperatures T1 and T2 and EMF E2 results for temperatures T2 and T3. It follows that an EMF E3 results at output terminals when the junctions are at temperatures T1 and T3. Here, E1 plus E2 equals E3. Thank you. Hope you got a clear and basic idea.
Okay, so this is about the thermocouple transducer. So now, till now, we discussed that the total 5 type of a transducer. Out of that, the thermocouple is the active type of a transducers here. So that summarized point is that if I want to discuss about the thermocouple, then we call the thermocouple is active plus temperature plus electrical transducer. Why we call it active? Because external energy source does not required. Why it is called as a temperature? Because it will sense the temperature. And why it called it electrical? Because its output form of energy is electrical signal is there. Get it my point? And you have to remember that the three names, one is a Seebeck effect, Peltier effect, and the Thomson effect is there. So with this, the thermocouple transducer is over. And now the next sixth type of a thermocouple, the sixth type of a transducer, we call it a thermistor. Now thermistor is the combination of two words. What are these two words? One is thermal and another one is resistor. It means that as compared to the thermal energy, the value of resistance is going to be changed. Then this device, this types of a transducer is called as the thermistor here. And based on the thermal energy, how the resistance is going to be changed. As compared to the thermal energy, either the resistance is increases or it can be decreases. Is it right? And based on that, the thermistor has its two types. Now please try to see that. The term thermistor is the combination of thermal plus resistor. So the thermistor is the resistor with important thermal characteristics. Thermistors are thermally sensitive resistors whose prime function is to exhibit large, predictable, and precise change in electrical resistance when subject to the corresponding change in a body temperature. And now, if you see that the symbol of the thermistor, it should be like this. In a simplified manner, if I want to write the symbol, then I can say that the symbol is like this. This is the resistor, and this arrow, it simply represents, depending upon that the temperature, the resistance of that resistor is going to be changed. So this is the symbol for the thermistor here. Now if you see that the construction of this, the thermistor, I say that these are the two electrodes. If you see that the oval shape here, this is the base of the resistor. And if you see that the rectangular on that oval shape material, we call it a thermistor material. And to this rectangle, the two black color rods are connected. We call it a contacting leads. And then this entire structure will be encapsulated. Now the question comes here, which types of thermistor materials are used? So here I have written, the thermistors are made up with the various mixtures of metal oxide such as manganese, nickel, cobalt, iron, etc. But the point is that any material you can use as a thermistor material, but that material shows the property, or it shows, or it can change the resistance based on its temperature. That material you can use for the construction of a thermistor here. Is it right? And now, as I say that, based on how the resistors, either resistors can be increases or decreases, there are two types of thermistors are there. One we call it a positive temperature coefficient thermistor, and another one we call it a negative temperature coefficient thermistor here. Now try to see that. What is that positive temperature coefficient? PTC. We say that in short, PTC. P stands for positive, T stands for temperature, C stands for coefficient. So the PTC thermistor increases their resistance as the temperature increases. It means that if the temperature increases, the resistance of that material is also increases. Such types of thermistors are called as a PTC, positive temperature coefficient. So the relationship between the resistance and the temperature is a linear, as expressed by the following equation. Change in resistance is equal to K, it's a constant, delta T. Means as the temperature increases with the same proportion, if the resistance is also increases, that is called as the positive temperature coefficient thermistor is there. If the meeting will be end automatically, please rejoin it very fast. Okay. So where the delta R is the change in resistance, delta T is the change in temperature, and the K is the temperature coefficient. The resistance is directly proportional to the temperature. So K is, when the K is positive, it causes a linear increase in resistance as the temperature rises. So you can see that the graph for the PTC type of a temperature here. So what you have to remember, so you have to remember that only first line. When the resistance, when the temperature increases, if the resistance of this thermistor, if it is increases, then it is called as a positive temperature coefficient of a thermistor here. Now the question is that